Australia v Argentina, Jake. What are we thinking?
Um, it was a good game in the conditions. It was really wet, so it was a good game. Good crowd from Argentina, but I think really disappointing that they lost that after beating the All Blacks, and this is their first game at home. And it's yet another disappointing loss at home. They lost to France, of course, in July. So losing to a weakened Australia team, they'll be disappointed. But there were some real positives for Australia. I think they showed like sort of character to come back in the second half after being down. So there's a lot for Joe Schmidt to build on, and a lot of promising signs for the to build on in the future against Argentina again next week, and then the
We
Bledisloe.
spoke about this last weekend. We said this Argentinian team at home, they'll crack under their own pressure, and they did it. The moment got too big, this whole thing, Augustine Krevy, he's going to retire and stuff. He's sent home packing, crying, crying. I mean, before and after the game now. I mean, like this Argentinian team has got to be the most inconsistent thing I've seen in this world. Like it's a coin flip. Are they going to win or lose? This Wallaby team, we spoke about this as well. They've got something to fight for. They're not as bad. What was the expectations going into the Rugby Championship? What was the expectations right after the World Cup, right? I see a future for this team. I think Joe Schmidt's great. I see a lot of talented boys out there. They deserve to win that game against Argentina. They fought till the end, a hard fought victory. I think it will do massive things for their confidence in those rainy conditions. They're playing in drier weather, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend. And it's the perfect matchup kind of for the Wallabies to see where they are. Like, obviously, Argentina just beat New Zealand, but then they lost against them. But they're always like a top six team, if you get what I mean. For the Wallabies, if they can pull off two victories over this Argentinian team away from home as well, that would be massive for them. And they're doing it without their best player on the field. Fraser McWright, he's not even there, right? But they've seen a star come through in Carlo Tizzano. That guy's incredible as well, right? So I do see a future for this Wallabies team. I do think they lose their next two games after the Argentinian game against the All Blacks, because that's just rivalry, Like the All Blacks will never allow them to lose against the Wallabies. But there's a future for these boys. I think they can hold their heads up, and I think they've got a proper chance of doing it two in a row. I'm actually calling them to do it twice in a row against Argentina. You can't write them off. Like, they are going to be a decent team. Those, you look at their team; those are talented boys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I was delighted to see Joe Schmidt get a win in the Rugby Championship, and I really am confident for him to go and get another. Like I said last week, how I do think he would have got that win, and I did say there was a possibility of a second. Now I think if the conditions are good, I think they will probably be favourites in my opinion to win that game. What do you think, Jake?
Well, yeah, I said Argentina would win last week, and I didn't think Wallabies were out of it, but I just thought first game Argentina wanted to get that win. But yeah, I think it's meant to be dry conditions. They're in the Santa Fe, which is 40,000, so I think the crowd will be more animated. I think Argentina will be really pissed off that they lost that first game, so I'm expecting a comeback, and they're a sort of Argentina to show what they're really about. And yeah, I think they'll get the win this time and get it over the line.
That was my prediction because I think they'd be very disappointed in themselves because if they had won that game they would have been challenging for the title, but now suddenly they're not, and they really let themselves down there. So they'll want this win. They won't want to lose both to the Wallabies considering the state they're in at the moment. So yeah, I think it's going to end up a serious draw for the two of them.
Tiernan, what do you think this victory means for the Wallabies? Do you think it was just like a once-off thing, or do you think they actually take some confidence from it? Because that was a grinded out victory, like in those conditions. I think victories like that is massive for your confidence.
Definitely, I didn't think they'd get a win the whole tournament, but to get a win against Argentina especially was something huge for them because had they lost both against them, that's kind of, losing to the worst team twice. But now, especially a win like that, where you win it with last minute kick, the confidence that gives you not only to the fans but the team as well. Like, it's great for them. It's great for Joe and like his confidence as a coach, the players, everything. So I think yeah, it is a tough spot for Aussie Rugby at the moment. If they can get their fans more invested by getting more wins like that, I think they're on the way back up again.
I think one more win in Argentina, or a win in the Bledisloe at Sydney will do one wonders for their momentum and their team going forward. Because we're all building up for the 2025 Lions series, so we all want Australia to do their best they can.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, I
World
think
Cup as well, like they do need to be better going into that because if they get grouped in the home World Cup, then that's a
They will be
fairly
if
simple issue.
they take these next 3 to 4 years before the next World Cup and they really improve that team and build on the foundation that they have. Because if you look at their good players, those aren't old guys. Andrew Killaway is not that old. Tom Wright's not that old. Tate McDermott, like all of these guys are under 30, right? Noah Lolosio, Lenny Ikitau, absolutely outstanding player. Hunter Paisami, Fraser McWright, Carlo Tizzano. Like those aren't
What about Angus Bell, man? What a player!
Angus Bell, and he's also young, isn't he?
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah, you see, so that they've got a mixture of experience and the youngsters coming through. But if you look at their standout performers, those are guys going into their prime now, right? So that if they have a World Cup that's being hosted in Australia, I think the World Cup could do them wonders, building up towards their own World Cup where they can literally say, "Listen, look where we were at in the 2003 World Cup, 2023 World Cup, and look at where we can be in front of our own crowd." That is how you rejuvenate a country when it comes to their views on rugby as a whole. Like they could really do some magical things if they get a victory now over Argentina. And I do not believe they'll beat the All Blacks, but they can put up a serious fight because then automatically they can also fight for even second place. Imagine Australia, everyone wrote them off. If they somehow got a victory or even two over Argentina and then push New Zealand and somehow sneak a Bledisloe and get second place, that would be a mad one after this World Cup that they just had. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but obviously they can push for it if they win the next game.
Yeah, that would be a fairy tale story, really. Like that team has massive potential. Look at the players that haven't even been called in, like Will Skelton, arguably one of the best players playing in the French league at the minute. That team, as you said, they probably can push the All Blacks right to the edge. I do think they will go and get the second win in Argentina. I think, in my opinion, if it's dry conditions, I think they will be favourites. And that team under Joe Smith has plenty of potential.
Yeah, he's a great coach. He can, if there's one guy that can get the most out of a team, Joe Schmidt. I believe he's one of the best coaches out there. Look at what he did for Ireland. Look at what he did for the All Blacks. And he's going to do a magical thing for Australia. I think he's the best coach that they could possibly get in a situation like this.
I think we've seen the Rebels gone under, so there's going to be players going to more Aussie teams in Super Rugby, which we saw in the Premiership kind of did a short-term boost. I think the Aussie team's going to do really well next year in Super Rugby. I think with Joe Schmidt in charge of the Wallabies, I think Aussie Rugby's got a lot to be positive right now.
Yeah, I fully agree. Jenan?
That's really no. I just think,
Okay, cool.
like that
Then we
win was
can wrap
important. Getting a win this weekend, very important, and challenging New Zealand. If they can even, come in 10 points, I think that's a win for them.
Oh, the biggest of them all, South Africa v New Zealand. What are we thinking? Casual.
I'm going box by 5. Like, I'm not too happy to see Andre Pollard starting that 10 jersey. I wanted to see Sasha again or even Marnie. I just think they fit the system a bit better. But the thing is, like, obviously with Andre there, we're going to bomb it into there. It's going to be a high ball, crash ball. And I just don't think they've got the aerial expertise out there for the All Blacks. I don't think Will Jordan's too great under the high ball. I'm really looking forward to that battle between Sevu Reece and Cheslin Colby. That's outstanding. And I think Caden Moody will have a field day over Mark Talia. So obviously physicality, that's usually what it comes down to, bomb squad. I think the drop-off from the All Black starting 15 to the bench is much more drastic than the South African one. Obviously, the All Blacks took the route of putting a bit of experience on the bench with Bowden Barrett and TJ Perenara as well. But the game's going to come down to physicality once again. We saw it last weekend as well. And when you can't really match up physically, you'll get slaughtered if you play against South Africa. And with our bomb squad coming off, I just think it's going to be line out maul, line out maul, line out maul every day of the week, kick your penalties, grind it out, 5-point victory. But you can never write off this All Blacks team. I am shitting it a bit when it comes to seeing Bowden Barrett in that 23 jersey, knowing the impact that he can bring off the bench because he's haunted us, and he did it literally the other day against England. Like, the guy is unplayable when he really decides, okay, I'm hungry to go and play some rugby. But
I think it's really big what you said about physicality, and Ethan Blackadder was one of the best players on the pitch last weekend.
Mhm.
So losing him, and Wallace Atiti's been good for the Hurricanes and Super Rugby. You know, he sort of burst into that semi-final and had a great game. Or was it the Chiefs? Sorry, the Chiefs. But you know, he's not the impact or experience the Test match player Ethan Blackadder is. So I definitely think the Springboks are going to have an edge in physicality.
So how many points are you going by?
Springboks by 10.
Well, fair.
I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to say the All Blacks by 10 for a lot of reasons. First of all, I think the determination from last week, they really did lose that lead. Like, they should have done that. They should have held on to that. That's personally why I think they've after putting Bowden Barrett and TJ on the bench now, that if they're in the same situation, they need to hold on to a lead. They want their experienced players on the pitch for that. And then determination, just kind of passion comes into it. Like, the Haka, highly disrespected. I know they apologise for it, but at the same time, you know, the All Blacks, they hate when you disrespect their Haka. We saw it against Ireland. We didn't really disrespect, we just sang over. But again, that kind of fueled them. I think they'll be fueled by this, especially if you guys do it again. And yeah, I don't know. I just think they're going to learn from their mistakes. They've got that experience coming off the bench. Andre Pollard and Jane Hendrickson, I don't think it's going to be able to match up with DMAC and Radama. At the same time, especially with Bowden, they might put Bowden at 10 when he comes off the bench and having TJ there. Don't think it's going to match up. The Springboks don't play with enough flair when they've got Andre Pollard on the pitch. He's a kicker more than a good fly half. So that's just why I think it's going to be domination of the All Blacks. They're going to get their revenge, and it's going to be a serious draw.
Yeah, I
definitely
agree
said
with you.
that. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, but I agree. I'm actually going to go with the All Blacks by 5. I think if they play anyway like they did on last week, I think they will get the win. And Bowden dropping down to the bench, I think that might fix the problems they had when the bench came on. And it really was their game to lose. Like that, those last 10, 15 minutes or so, I think with Bowden Barr coming off the bench, I don't think that will happen again. I don't think they will lose that 10-point lead again. And I think it's theirs to lose, really.
I won't have that 10-point lead again. Don't you think this is kind of that game where it's like, well, you kind of caught South Africa at a very vulnerable spot there, and you couldn't do it. And South Africa's not going to make that mistakes again. Look at the tries that they scored, right? People talk about the All Blacks being the better team for that 65 minutes. I'm not slating it, but let's not overreact. Their tries was an interception try, another kind of interception try. If you look at Ben Jason Dixon just heaving a ball out of the ruck into Jasper Wies's face that just rebounded into their hands. They threw it out wide. There was no defense, obviously, because we were on the attack. So it's like a kind of interception try. You look at Fussy that marks a kick with Damien McKenzie in the backfield, and he rushes a mark kick. I don't know where was trying to kick that ball. Kicks it out 2 meters in front of him, gives them a 22-meter lineout. So it's 3 proper counter-attack tries. Obviously, you have to give credit to how clinical they were, but that is 3 South African mistakes that they pounced on, right? South Africa's not making that mistakes again. It's just going to be a grind out type of game. They're going to keep it physical. That we're going to know Bowden Barrett's going to come onto the field and TJ Perenara to up the tempo of the game. You know what we're going to do? Put Sasha on the field that has the boot of whatever, right? And he's just going to slot it into their 22, run from there. Run it from there. We dare you. And we saw it last weekend. They tried that dink over the top. It didn't work once, right? So it's going to be purely, I think this game plan of South Africa is like, we're not going to make those mistakes. You want to get points, you're going to run from your own 22. And we're going to put your boys under a lot of pressure with Kane and Moody literally piling down on you. And you better catch that ball. Otherwise, you find yourself like Cora Betty stuck in the mud. He takes it from in front of your face, spits on you as he's flying by, and then runs past you for that try.
Yeah, I don't think I explained my 10-point lead thing very well. But I think, the physicality the Box have and the impact subs of Quagga Smith, Feinberg, and Nguzulu. And then we also had, remember Kane Moody, how he ran over New Zealand in Twickenham last year, so Allianz Stadium. And so I think Moody can have a field day again. And
Ulrich Lowe again. Ulrich Lowe was insane when he came on. stepped Mark
Definitely.
Telea that he tackled his own grave, bumped who was it, Tupuvai into yesterday. Like, they're not getting that 10-point lead once again. It's just going to be grinding it out. Remember that first 15-minute blitz where they just like steamrolled us kind of and had us on the defense the whole time. I think South Africa will be ready for that, knowing you can't go the first 15 minutes and be gassed from just tackling this side of the field, that side of the field, this side, that side. Not going to see that again.
And all the All Blacks have to bring off is Sam Darry and Luke Jacobson. You know, it's just not enough firepower compared to the Springboks. So yeah, I can only see Springboks getting a 10-point win in this one.
Any rebuttals?
I think it's surprising that you're going by so many, to be honest. The All Blacks were, in my opinion, much better in the first 60 minutes or so on Saturday. And obviously it was their bench that lost them the game. And with Bowden Barrett and was it TJ Parnara as well on the bench, like that won't happen again. And I think they are favourites in my opinion to win it. But
yeah, but how can you say that won't happen from the bench again, but then kind of expect South Africa to crumble again and give them that 10-point lead? Like, that's not going to happen again. It's going to be a different game, right? TJ Perenara and Bowden Barrett coming off the bench does not fix the fact that they couldn't match up physically. The bomb squad wasn't even good when they came on. Kwagga Smith was good and Ulrich Low, but that wasn't the bomb squad. Malcolm Marx struggled, right? He couldn't throw in a line out for shit. And still we did it. You know, like, those boys are going to fix up. The starters, they know they can't expect from the bomb squad to come on again and save a 10-point lead. Like, I think it's highly over-exaggerating saying that the All Blacks were the better team in 65 minutes. People are acting like they controlled the game. They didn't control that game for shit. That game was close the whole way through until we made another mistake and they just went into the corner.
Well, for me, the All Blacks aura is completely gone. They're like a consistently inconsistent team. They got smashed by the Springboks in France last year and then did well against Ireland and all right in the World Cup final. They scraped against England this year and then, poor against Argentina one game, good the next. For me, that was a good performance from the All Blacks in South Africa last weekend. For this weekend, I just think they won't put in the same performance.
Yeah.
But I think if it's like anyway a similar game to what it was last week, I think the All Blacks will have it. That's what I think. But if it's different, maybe you might be right. And if it does go completely differently, yeah, 10 points, that's fair enough, to be honest. But if it's anyway similar, All Blacks by 5. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Much appreciated. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And see you in the next one.